Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, join us as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. And you know, the master chef himself has stepped into the kitchen of gladness and whipped up a big batch of joy for us. It's Chef Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
The kitchen of gladness, John. I never, your names for me just, and they stick too. Not unlike if you don't use any kind of lubrication on a pan, I guess, when you're cooking. I'm happy to be cooking in the kitchen of gladness, John. Wow.
Awesome.
I want to cook up a souffle of wonderment for everyone.
A souffle of wonderment. Well, listen, guys, how are you guys all doing today on this, I don't know, what is it, day 7, day 21? I completely lost count of what the quarantine is at this point, but I hope you guys are having a wonderful day already. I know I am, actually, and looking forward to doing the show and talking to our international friends about the things that bring us all that joy, and of course, movies, television, storytelling in its finest. And listen, guys, we do have a bunch of things we're going to be talking about here today. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the Wonder Woman situation. Warner Brothers, in one move, announced they're moving Wonder Woman, but also reaffirmed their commitment to a theatrical release. We're going to talk a little bit about Mandalorian. Sounds like another person's been added to the cast. And I'm actually even a little bit more excited about this one than I was about Rosario Dawson. Picard is going to be able to be watched by everybody, and as is everything on CBS All Access, as Patrick Stewart made an announcement that we're going to talk about that and a few things more. But listen, one of the things we like to start off our show with is, you know, when we're done the show goes up on YouTube, and people come in and they leave their thoughts and they leave their comments, and I read through all of them. So we started off beginning every show with our top comments from the previous day's show. So here are some of the comments from yesterday's show. We got one from Robert Mansour, who writes, John, I don't think Ray, that's my brother-in-law Ray, who does our graphics here, I don't think Ray gets enough credit for the amazing graphics and thumbnails he creates for the channel. Shout out to Ray for an awesome job. His work helps elevate the professional nature of your show. Absolutely it does. And that's why he's here doing his thing. Thanks for that shout out, Robert. All right, next up, Cinema Survey Movie Reviews writes, in the future, if a studio screws over a theater, we will call it trolling. Get it? Trolling. Actually, I think that's pretty clever, Cinema. Okay,
that is pretty
next
good.
up, Aaron Teagan writes, I was a huge Seinfeld fan, and the first time I watched The Office, and of course we talked about The Office yesterday, celebrating its 15th anniversary, I couldn't get into it and just thought the entire time this Michael Scott guy is an idiot. Why is this funny? Watched it some more and realized Steve Carell's a genius. Now to the point which I don't know which I'd prefer. Best episodes for each Office? The Dinner Party? Listen, any list of Office episodes that I'm going to put together for Robert to watch, The Dinner Party is absolutely going to be on that. And Seinfeld, Serenity Now. Not to also be, don't shortchange master of your own domain. Okay, and then Stephen Cole writes, hey, John and Rob, I watched the James Caan movie Thief. Holy shit, it was superb. Caan was an absolute beast in that film, but really has got to keep his shirt on as he's covered in body hair, which leads me to suggest a film for you guys to check out. A murderous werewolf is stalking a French village prior to the revolution, and two mysterious hunters ride in to slay it. Brotherhood of the Wolf with Monica Bellucci and Vincent Cassel. Keep up the brilliant work, you guys, and stay safe. And we actually talked about that movie. I can't remember if we talked about it yesterday or if I talked about it on Open Mic over the weekend. But Rob, did you ever see Brotherhood of the Wolf?
Oh, I've got the 3-disc DVD set.
Of course you do.
I don't have the I've wanted to get that 3-disc set in high def form. I don't know if it exists, but I need to. It's funny because I just dusted that case off yesterday.
Which is kind of ironic. But here's the funny thing about Brotherhood of the Wolf. I always get because, listen, like a lot of people, a bunch of years ago, when it came to North America, I really got into Iron Chef, which is like one of the craziest shows, right? Iron Chef, the chairman of the Iron Chef Stadium, is in Brotherhood of the Wolf. He plays, I believe, he plays the Native American, I think, something like that. Mark Dacascos.
He's in John Wick 3,
John Wick 3. He's the big bad guy in John Wick 3. I always just get a kick out of seeing it's like, Because, I mean, maybe it's unfair. I still just think Iron Chef when I see him. But anyway, guys, there are the top comments from yesterday's show. Don't forget, guys, leave comments on this show, and maybe you'll see your comment pop up on this segment tomorrow. Okay, guys, before we get into our main topics, there is one thing to talk about off the top. You know, right now, with a lot of films that got their opening in theaters, and then the theaters had to shut down, they then had no other choice but go on to VOD, which the movie theaters understood, the studios, we all understand that. One of those movies was the Vin Diesel film Bloodshot. That was one of the films that had to make that move and go there. And it actually opened, I believe, yesterday, Rob. I believe it opened on VOD yesterday, from what I understand, to disappointing numbers, but that's another topic for another time. To help promote the fact that they've now put this movie Bloodshot out on VOD, Vin Diesel has let everybody know that the first 9 minutes of Bloodshot are now available for free online. So you can go online right now and you can go see the first 9 minutes of the movie. Now, this idea of releasing like the first 7 minutes, the first 5 minutes, whatever, this is normally a tactic used for films, and it's usually done a couple of months before a movie comes out in theaters. That's the normal tactic here. Of course, we are living in a situation right now where there is no such thing as normal. We're in unprecedented waters. There is no normal operating procedure. There's no handbook here for how you're supposed to handle your movie under circumstances like this. So they decided, you know what, let's throw up a Hail Mary. Let's release the first 9 minutes, see if it can get some people interested in it. And honestly, I don't know if it's going to get many more people turned on to the movie, Rob, to be honest with you, but it's also not a bad idea. I mean, it's one of those things where what can go wrong? It's not like you have to pay a trailer company to make this for you. It's the first 7 or 8 minutes of the movie. Just take it, throw it up on YouTube, no skin off their nose, doesn't cost them anything to do it, and maybe it will get them some results, but even if it's finite results, at least it's something. I think it's a smart move, to be honest with you right now. I don't see any downside. Rob, what did you think of this?
Well, you know, if you like what you've seen, it's like, well, I got to watch more. I mean, I think it's great. And unlike a trailer, you know, this is story. And you know, it's almost the first 10 pages of the script. And if you're sucked in and you like what you see and you like the production values and the direction and the score and everything about it, I mean, it's, you know, it's like a quarter of a line of really good cocaine. You know, you can't just have a little bit. You got to snort that whole fatty rail, and you got to, you know, and that's, to me, the greatest drug in the world is movies. And when you're, you know, you can't just do a little bit. Can't just
I'll
do a
give
little
you your
bit.
first hit for free.
That's right. That's exactly right. And with this, I think, look, it's unfortunate what has happened. I feel really bad for the filmmakers. I feel bad for the filmmakers. All my friends that got into South by Southwest or got into the Tribeca Film Festival, your hopes, your dreams. Man, you get into big festivals and they're canceled. And the same is true of these movies. I mean, every filmmaker, how long have they been trying to make a Valiant Universe movie? You know, and they do the best they can. They work on it for a year or two. It's in post, the effects technicians, the actors, the cast, the crew. I mean, it's just everybody. And then this happens. You're totally out of your control. You know, it has no bearing on your work. And suddenly your film is looked at as a potential disappointment. It might have curtailed there ever being another Valiant Universe movie. And it has nothing to do with how good the movie is and how much work people did. And you know, I feel for everybody, because people, when they work on movies, John, as you well know, you've got the people that are really good at their jobs, pouring their heart and souls into these things. And when something like this happens, it's just, to me, it's heartbreaking. And I think they're doing everything they can, at least, to give this movie a chance. So kudos to everybody who agreed to do this. And, you know, I hope, for no other reason, I hope people tune in and watch this and maybe decide to go after Bloodshot and pay that VOD charge, because they're supporting everyone that worked on this movie, and they're supporting, maybe there'll be other Valiant films if this has a second life in VOD. It kills me to see what happened in these movies. Not just this, everything else.
We had one of our viewers actually wrote into me a while ago, all excited because their short film, one of our viewers had their short film accepted into Cannes. And then, of course, later getting an email, well, there goes that dream, you know?
I mean,
and it's unfortunate. I mean, although Maybe they shouldn't have shown the first 9 minutes because I'm a big Vin Diesel fan. Everybody knows this. I love Vin Diesel, but the first 9 minutes were probably not the strongest 9 minutes of the movie.
Oh.
They're not particularly strong, but it is what it is. Hey, listen, guys. Question is, what do you think about this move by them? I actually think it's a smart move to put out. Listen, why not take advantage of this? It doesn't cost you anything to do it. Maybe you might get a few more eyeballs on the movie. Have you seen the 9-minute clip? Have you seen the whole movie? What are your thoughts on this? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here in the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them by going anytime, 24/7, over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's completely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you just might see your submission as a main topic featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Allison Tyson, who writes, "Hi, John and Rob. Did you see Sir Patrick Stewart's tweet?" You got to say sir. You can't just say Patrick Stewart. Did you see Sir Patrick Stewart's tweet about CBS All Access? He says that ahead of the season 1 finale of Picard, they're making CBS All Access free until April 23rd if you use the code GIFT. I already have it and already love Picard, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew about it. Do you think more streaming services might follow suit and offer a free month while people are participating or practicing social distancing at home? All right. Thanks a lot for sending in that in, Allison. And yes, Patrick Stewart himself did, say engage, jumped on his social media and let the world know that not only his show, but all of CBS All Access has gone free until April 23rd, giving everybody a good chance to really sample and check out the service. This is the tweet that Patrick Stewart put out. He said, "Our Star Trek Picard season finale is Thursday. And starting today," this was yesterday, "until April 23rd, you can watch for free on CBS All Access in the US with the code GIFT. It's felt good to bring Picard back. I can't wait to reunite with our cast and crew for season 2. So, Rob, we just talked a little bit ago about the fact that, there's no rule book right now for where we're in for movies and movie releases. Like, should you be doing this? Should you be doing that? The streaming services, being as young as they are, they're also in the same boat with this whole situation. This is new for them too. And it seems like CBS All Access has decided to adopt you know what? While so many people are at home right now, this is a good opportunity for us to try to get them enticed into our network. Let's make it easy for them to check it out. Let's make it for free. See if it can hook some people in. Rob, do you think, because remember, television is different. I mean, I acknowledge television is different than movies, but do you think a strategy like this may work for them? And if so, do you think we might see, and this is maybe the bigger part of the question, do you think we might see other services like maybe Disney Plus, maybe Hulu, hell, maybe Netflix. Netflix has done little things like this before. Do you think this is a good time for something like that, or do you think now is not the time for this type of strategy? What do you think?
Well, look, this is the actual week that the finale of the first season of Picard airs, and I do think that there's a lot of people that did sign up specifically and paid money to see the Picard series, and they were hoping that it would drive subscriptions. And I think those people, in a way, there might be some animosity towards CBS All Access. I understand why they're doing it now. This was done for one reason. They want to get more eyeballs on their service. I don't think the subscriptions, because of Picard, went up as high as they wanted. And this is a move. Look, it's a very savvy, shrewd business move on their part. People are home. It's free CBS All Access to see Picard, but you do have to sign up for the service. So I think it's a very, very savvy business move. But I think that what would be even savvier is streaming services need great content, and they need great content that people are flocking to. And CBS has tried really to build their entire streaming service around 2 Star Trek shows and things like The Twilight Zone or The Good Fight. And I just don't think that they've actually added enough original content to their streaming service, because once Picard goes off the air, or the first season's over, which is tonight at midnight, that's when I watch it, there's nothing more to watch. So I think it was a good move on their part to do this.
Can you see other streaming services maybe adopting something like this during this quarantine era, or do you think it's not something that would necessarily work for them?
I don't think. I mean, I think what the other streaming services are doing is what they should do, which is drop great content. You know, as we've talked about on this show, the only reason people are going to start watching a streaming service or subscribe, pay good money, is if there's something for them to watch. And, you know, I mean, Disney Plus dropped Frozen 2 and Onward. If you're home with the kids, I've heard people say that their kids have watched Frozen 2 like 20 times already. And it's been on, what, a week? I mean, God knows if you can't sing in those households, I don't know what you're going to do. But that's the way that streaming services get people, by dropping good content. I mean, Netflix has that new Tiger King documentary that everybody's talking about, and whatever everything else they've got going on there. Amazon's got things like Hunters, and I see a lot of people talking about great shows. HBO has The Plot Against America now. They just wrapped up The Outsider. And when people are talking about their streaming shows, that's when people subscribe.
You know, it's funny because I, as somebody who I do enjoy the stuff they got, Discovery 1 and 2, Picard, whatever. Rob, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like with Disney Plus, they launched with Mandalorian, and they've received some criticism that they haven't really had anything to follow it up with, but it's still relatively very young, right?
Right.
And so for this point, we still give it a bit of a pass. I enjoy those shows we just mentioned on CBS All Access, but CBS All Access has simply been around too long for it to get a pass anymore for simply not having any original content. Like, it's fine if you launch with one show, okay, but guess what? A year from now, Disney Plus is going to have a hell of a lot more original content on their network than CBS All Access has at this point in their development. And CBS All Access has been around a hell of a lot longer than Disney Plus has. And the one question mark I have about this strategy is the fact that, hey, it's great. You want to put a bunch of eyeballs on your channel. Okay, that's wonderful. But back in going back to the early 2000s, in my web design days, right? You know, there would often be clients that want to, let's put the word out and let people come see the site. And we would always tell them, you don't want people's first impression of your site to be an incomplete site. You don't want that to be the first impression. You want it when they come to the site that, look how great this site is. Look how wonderful this thing is, right? I remember, Rob, when I was working for Lionsgate and we were doing the Comic-Con HQ, right? We were on the Comic-Con HQ network. I was executive producing a show on there called Film HQ, and I had a lot of fun with that, and I really enjoyed working with Lionsgate.
I liked it.
You were on it, by the way. You were a guest on it a couple of times. But
it was great.
The fatal mistake they made, Rob, was their big high-profile shows was going to be one with Mark Hamill. It was going to be one with a couple of the guys from Supernatural. And it was the Alan Tudyk one, I think, called Con Men, with Nathan Fillion was in it as well. They launched their network with none of that.
Right.
And as much as I loved my own show, my show was not the headline show. Film HQ was meant to be a supporting content kind of show, right? They launched without having a thing. It's like, and it's great right now for CBS All Access. Say, hey, everybody come check out our network. But they're going to come and they're going to see where's the value? I'm not going to sign up for a network for 2 shows, even if I like those shows. So it's got to be something they address here, right? Because you're right. They need to have content, and there's simply no excuse for being this far along in their development and not having any. There's just no excuse for it.
What's amazing to me too is let's say you want to base your streaming service around, I don't know, say Star Trek, like they've been doing. What HBO does, as soon as one of their marquee shows end, they promote their next show while that marquee show is playing, and then the next weekend they start their next show. So Picard was a 10-episode series, Now, admittedly, it was a very expensive series, but they've got Discovery Season 3 coming. They've got Star Trek Lower Decks, the animated show that they're making. So what you need, even if it's a new fledgling show, you only need 5 shows that are 10 episodes each to fill out a year, and you've got 2 weeks off for Christmas break or whatever. They should have had a new show ready to drop that people are really excited about the next week. At least that way you've constantly got something new that hopefully will appeal to your audience that watch Picard, and they're not doing that. And look, that's only 5 shows a year, and they're not doing that. And you look at other places like HBO has continued to pique my interest. I thought after Thrones was over, I'm like, well, that's it for me in HBO.
A lot of people thought that.
That hasn't been the case at all. I mean, whether they're dropping Watchmen, whether they're dropping literary adaptations like The Plot Against America, or The Outsider, I'm like, these are marquee titles. You've got miniseries based on Philip Roth, one of America's great writers. Then you got Stephen King in miniseries, and there's a bunch of stuff coming down the pike that's exciting. And HBO is using their new shows to promote the next show. And when it's over, it's like, well, this might be the end of Watchmen, but next Sunday, Stephen King's The Outsider debuts. And that's how you run a service. That's how you get people excited. And I hate to say it, yeah, it might be tough, but unless you're keeping the tap running, people are going to go elsewhere for a drink.
Yeah, no, I agree. Question here is, guys, what do you think about the move right now? I mean, in principle, it's a good idea. Everybody's at home, give them a free few weeks, but you got to have some content, but maybe you see it a little bit differently. Jump down into the comment section below because I want to know what your thoughts are. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Justin M. Bolt, who writes, I've always kind of wondered whatever happened to the real Kyle Reese. Now we know. He ended up in the Star Wars universe. What do you think about the news that Michael Biehn is going to be playing a bounty hunter in Mandalorian Season 2? I am so excited for the new season. Thanks, and bring on the filthy. All right, thanks a lot for that, man. And yes, I got to tell you, I'm stoked. Now, I've always mispronounced Michael's last name. I always pronounced it Biehn, but how is it pronounced? How do you pronounce it?
It is Biehn.
Okay, so hopefully I got that right. I have always loved this guy. Now, of course, he's in 2 of the great all-time classic sci-fi films, in the original Terminator, and of course in Aliens, and he's awesome in both. And Rob, back in the day, before the first X-Men movie came out and everybody was doing their fan casting, there's your Cyclops.
Right.
There's your Cyclops. I mean, that was the de facto, almost as much as everybody wanted to see Patrick Stewart as Professor X. Almost as much. People wanted to see Michael Biehn as Cyclops. Now, totally great with who they got. It's just they didn't use him very well, which is unfortunate. But I've always liked this guy, and I'll tell you what, I know there were some behind-the-scenes problems, but I have always wondered, how is this guy not a major A-list star? Because he's got a very unique on-screen charisma. And I don't know how else to describe it other than that. A very unique on-screen charisma that just to me makes him gotta watch. Like when he's on screen, he's got my attention. And he's just got a way of being able to carry his characters in such a way that I've always found very engaging and really enjoyable at the same time. So when I heard, Rob, that he was joining Mandalorian Season 2, first of all, look at what John Favreau is doing with casting in this show.
Oh, man, right? Carl Weathers, dude.
He goes out and gets Carl Weathers. I mean, just you look down the casting that he's done. He's done this really eclectic kind of odd way of putting this together, and now he goes out and gets a Michael Biehn playing a bounty hunter. Apparently, again, we don't know if he's going to be in just one episode or maybe it's going to be a small storyline that stretches over 2 or 3. But I'll tell you what, I'm excited to see this dude in this movie. Rob, what do you think about the additional Michael Biehn in Mandalorian Season 2?
Well, I think what Favreau is doing, I like to call, he's pulling a Tarantino. He's Tarantinoing it, because Quentin Tarantino would go after actors that he grew up with. People like Robert Forster or Pam Grier, and John Travolta, and revitalize their careers, because Hollywood executives, they're not thinking about these people. They're trying to get the new hot person or whatever. And with Mandalorian, watching people like Carl Weathers get jobs, and by the way, he was great. Favreau's probably like I love Action Jackson. What's Carl Weathers doing? You know, and goes and get them. And those actors are really happy to be there. They're getting multiple episode stints. And I'm sure people love Michael Biehn, and I'm sure Favreau's like, what's Michael Biehn doing? He's a badass, just like you said. I love Michael Biehn. Let's go get him. And if you're the showrunner, you don't have to ask anyone, can I do this? You just go do it. And I love that. I wish my filmmaking career was a little bit amounted to a little bit more than it has. Not that I've given up or anything, but I would love to do those kinds of casting things too. And I think this is a great. I mean, getting Rosario Dawson to play Ahsoka Tano is probably the same thing too. And he probably just decided to do it. Well, I'm going to go after her, and Dave Filoni might have suggested it, and they're in a position where they can just go make that stuff happen. And I love it. I mean, by the way, Michael Biehn was also great in James Cameron's The Abyss as the military officer who's getting the jitters and basically kind of goes loopy. And
he's always kind of military, right? Navy SEALs.
Yes.
Wasn't he also a military guy in The Rock? I think he was one of the the guy. And then what was that? What was the Western he was in again? I'm freezing. It wasn't Tombstone, was it? Was it Tombstone?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I can't remember. I cannot remember now. But anyway, yeah,
but it's great. It's just great to have him back. And I think this is awesome casting, dude.
Yeah, and look, again, you were saying it, Rob. The job they're doing on the casting is not the big A-list profile names, but it's perfect names. Like, so perfect that you take a guy like me that hates the Ahsoka Tano character. I don't understand how anybody sees any value of that character. But even I, who don't like the character, you cast a Rosario Dawson, which would not have been the first name off the top of my head. Even I'm going like, holy shit, that is perfect. That's perfect. I mean, that's just what he's doing. And then you see Michael Biehn as a bounty hunter. I mean, that's perfect. Like, I'm getting very stoked, and I love what Favreau's doing here. Question here is, guys, what do you think about this announcement of Michael Biehn being in Mandalorian Season 2 as a bounty hunter? Jump on down to the comments section and let us know what was your favorite movie of him being in as well, and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Michael Hines, who writes, "Hey, John, it's been reported that Warner Brothers pushed back Wonder Woman 1984 to August 14th, and they also pulled Scoob in the Heights and Malignant from their release dates. What are your thoughts on this, and do you think other films will follow, and which films do you think will be the next to do so?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, listen, we were talking about this last week that you're going to start seeing the June and July movies getting bumped, because even if the theaters do get open by then, even if they do, the studios didn't have any time to ramp up a marketing campaign. You can't just drop a movie in theater. It's not like, Eminem just dropping a track surprising overnight. You can't do that with a movie. You've got to have a ramp up. You got to have a build up. And right now, since they didn't know if the theaters are going to be open in July or June, they couldn't exactly open those. So we said you're going to start to see these movies getting bumped. What is interesting here is that Wonder Woman, unlike a lot of the other ones, like James Bond did announce its new date in November. Fast 9 announced its new date in 2021. But a lot of the films that are getting bumped, they're just getting bumped indefinitely. Wonder Woman actually didn't bump all that far, and they announced their new date, August. August is when we're coming out. And to back up that kind of move, you had the director of Wonder Woman 84, Patty Jenkins, who is just amazing. She got online and wrote the following: "We made Wonder Woman 1984 for the big screen, and I believe in the power of cinema. In these terrible times when theater owners are struggling, so many are, we are excited to redate our film to August 14th, 2020 in a theater near you, and pray for better times for all by then." On top of that, the studio executives also got online, reiterating basically what Patty Jenkins said, "We are reaffirming our commitment to the movie theaters. Wonder Woman is a movie to be experienced on the big screen, and August 14th, blah, blah, blah," and all that kind of stuff. There's a couple of interesting points of discussion here. Number one is the fact that they didn't move by all that much, Rob. They decided that they wanted to go with a sooner rather than later approach, and they aimed for August, which I think was actually a pretty good move because remember, they had already started their marketing before the coronavirus stuff hit, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
if they can refrain from moving it too far, they can still capture a little bit of that momentum and then jump back on the marketing train because they clearly feel like the theaters will probably be back open, whatever state we're all in by August 14th, who knows, but they feel that they're going to be open by then. I also thought it was not coincidental that the day after Universal profoundly dropped the ball on their handling of their situation with Trolls, I don't think it's a coincidence that the very next day, Warner Brothers executives and Wonder Woman came out to reaffirm, not only are we got a new date, we are absolutely committed to the theatrical experience. Movies are meant for the big screen. We are committed to our theatrical partners, blah, blah, blah. It's no coincidence that one day after that news dropped about Universal and how they handle the situation that this is being done. But Rob, so there's two things here. What do you think about the move to August for Wonder Woman? And what do you think about the verbiage that Patty Jenkins and Warner Brothers executives are using at this point?
Well, one, I think it's important because it's a statement from the studios that, look, we're not going to be closed for business for the rest of the year. They're hoping that there will be a turnaround, and based on indications from both China and South Korea, that might very well be possible. And I think it's the kind of affirmation that movie theaters need, that they know that the darkness, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And they're going to be at least given a huge tentpole property, not moved to November, not moved into a whole different season, but the summer movie season that is so vitally important to studios and movie theater chains, it might just be shifted a few more months, but they might do some bang-up business in August. And I think it's great all the way around. I like what Patty Jenkins was saying. You know, I was looking at the stuff they were tweeting out. I think I retweeted her. She put out that cool motion poster in her tweet of Wonder Woman with the new armor, which, by the way, they had on display. They had some Hot Toys figures on display and showed that armored figure. Woohoo! So I really want to see this movie, and I just think it's good all the way around. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited because as long as I can see Tenet and Wonder Woman, the summer of 2020 might not be a total write-off as far as film fans are concerned.
I agree. So how do you think it's going to do? Like, how do you think, August isn't that far off. How do you think they're going to pull this off?
Well, I mean, it's really up to where we're at in terms of, has the curve flattened out and started to drop when it comes to coronavirus. I mean, as we're seeing our government respond, the economy's got to get turned back on. I mean, businesses, the world, unfortunately, you can't just stop industry and the economy because people, we can't put the entire universe on welfare. Nobody can afford that. And we need businesses to open. But what really is important is to know that there's enough healthy people, that people have all been tested. I mean, the biggest problem where we're at now is we don't know where the virus is yet. The testing is really ramping up in this country, but we've got to know where the virus is. And in places like Korea and China, they know where the virus is, so they've isolated those people, and healthy people are going back to work, and they're able to do that, and we need to do that, and we need these industries to come back. We don't need a tsunami like this to wash away our movie theaters, because it's completely detrimental to all of Hollywood. And say what you want. You want to call Hollywood elites or whatever, but this is a worldwide business, and it's a chief export of this country to make entertainment. And we need entertainment. The world needs entertainment. People need to be entertained. And, you might be cynical or you might be jaded, but Hollywood needs to go on. And movies need to get made, and the world needs movies. And I think it's important that we get back into the business of making things, not at the expense of anyone else. I do not believe that my mother, who's 81 years old next month, should have to worry about getting sick so someone else can make a buck. I think my mom will stick around for a while, but I also think we got to have businesses open back up, because people people need food, they need entertainment, but most of all, they need hope. They need their spirits to be lifted. And the sooner we can get back to the business of working, as long as people can stay healthy, the better off we are. And I think what Warner Brothers is doing, they're planting a flag and they're saying, you know what, things are going to get better. And I even see the act of doing it, even if if it doesn't work out, hey, it doesn't work out. But right now, even at the end of March, they are saying there is hope and we're going to be open for business soon, but not too soon.
Yeah. And again, like you just said, if we get to late June into July and it's clear that it's not wise to do so, they'll just pull the date up again. It's not. I think I agree with what you said. I think even just planting that flag is a symbol of hope. But we're not married to it. If they have to pull it up again, they will pull it up again. But I think that's interesting too. Guys, question is, what do you think about the move by Wonder Woman to get pushed off from that? And what do you think about the comments by Patty Jenkins and the Warner Brothers executives? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. On to the next topic here, and that is this. You know, with a lot of us stuck at home, this has been a great time making lemonade out of lemons, trying to make the best of a bad situation, of getting caught up on maybe some great films that maybe you haven't had a chance to see before, whether they're old classics or even if they're ones that have been more recent but didn't get the love in theaters that they deserve. So that's what Rob and I have been doing for the last little while, is every day giving a recommendation of a film that maybe there are good chances you haven't seen yet. And we've had a lot of fun talking about these. So Rob, here we are. We're on this quest that we're on right now. What is your movie recommendation today that people check out while they're stuck at home?
Okay, this is not obscure. This was the movie that won the Best Picture in 1950. And I would say it has absolutely one of the best screenplays ever written. And just to give you a quick, I saw this movie for the first time in film school when I was at USC, and I was blown away by it. I was captivated by this movie. It was a movie I knew about. It was a movie that I really didn't want to ever see. It was not exciting to me until I saw it. And I sat there in the Norris cinema. Everyone else had left. I was just stunned by what I'd seen. And it, to me, is one of the top 10 films of my life. And that is All About Eve. Joseph Mankiewicz. This is one of the greatest screenplays. And basically, it's the story. Bette Davis plays a character named Margot Channing, who is a very famous actress who's worried about, as many actresses are, getting older. And she is befriended by what appears to be a syncophonic fan who seems to have her best interests at heart. And it delves into the whole New York theater community. And George Sanders is incredible. Hugh Marlowe, all the actors in this movie are just stunning. And you find out that this movie has one of the great femme fatales of all time. One of the most just evil, conniving. I mean, it's one of, and I watched this movie and I just say, when you first hear, it opens with voiceover with George Sanders doing as Addison DeWitt, the greatest theater critic in New York. And you listen to his voice and it's like, man, I was locked in. And yes, this movie's in black and white. And yes, it doesn't have explosions or special effects. But this movie is just, as far as stories go, man, I was grabbed from the opening. I was just knocked out by this movie. And, you know, I was in college. I saw this movie. I was 21 years old. I saw it when I was a senior in college. And I couldn't believe it. And it's one of those transcendent moments. I mean, I had already seen Apocalypse Now, and I had already seen Empire Strikes Back, and Texas Chainsaw, and Dawn of the Dead, and Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, all these cornerstone Jaws, you know, Exorcist. And this was not a movie that I would have thought that I would have loved. But man, I was just knocked out by how a movie about the New York theater scene could have entranced me the way this movie did. And the performances and the dialogue. Oh my God, the screenplay. This is the movie that has one of the great lines of dialogue at a party. Bette Davis is on the staircase and she is not happy about what's going on at this party. And she just turns and she says, "Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night." And you're just like, oh yeah. And man, I mean, I know you like movies like Noises Off, which is another movie right about the theater. And there's just something about this is all about the artistic impulse. It touches on Hollywood, and it's about most of all theater people, and it's really to a larger extent about artists and their dreams and their insecurities, and it's also about friendship. My God, I love this movie so much. This is like The Godfather. When this movie's on, I cannot stop watching it. I cannot stop watching it.
It is one of the greats. And by the way, there was an equally great remake of it in 2018. I'm kidding. It's not equally great. I'm just saying, there just if anybody was curious, there was also a remake of it. And I think it was in 2018 that you can go check out. Rob, again, great pick. And I'm not surprised at all that you've got the Blu-ray there. So Rob's pick today
Blu-ray
is the 1950 version of All About Eve. I'm going to go a little bit newer on this one, but I think this is also historically a significant film, and I'll tell you why. You know, Matthew McConaughey, he kind of burst onto the scene pretty quick and became pretty famous doing the rom-com stuff, some good stuff early, and then kind of became a little bit of a joke in many ways. And then came The Reconnaissance. That peaked with him winning the Academy Award for Dallas Buyers Club. I would suggest that the film that unofficially was the actual beginning of the Reconnaissance was a pretty damn good little film that a lot of people did not do great at the box office. And I think a lot of people didn't go to see it, understandably, because Matthew McConaughey's rep for the movies he had been in had taken a little bit of a beating at that point. But this movie, I'll tell you where, Rob, I went to the Lionsgate home office to watch this press screening of this movie. And McConaughey himself was going to be there. It was going to be just about 20 of us were invited. We went. McConaughey was going to be there. I thought, okay, I'll go watch, even though I didn't think the movie was going to be good. And the movie was The Lincoln Lawyer. The Lincoln Lawyer was that kind of a film that I had no expectations going in. And by the time the movie was over, I walked out of the theater going, oh my God. That was really good. And not only do you have Matthew McConaughey, you got Aunt May, Marissa Tomei in there. You had Ryan Felipe, or however you pronounce his last name, ex-Mr. Reese Witherspoon. But he was really good in it. The story was great. You think you know where things are going, and then they do go that way, and you're like, yeah, I knew it was going to go that way, and then it takes another turn. Like, it's just really a good movie. A movie that deserved, by the way, to be a franchise. And I think they originally made it with the intention of making it a franchise, and now it's going to be a television series. But they originally made it with the idea of making it a franchise, and it never quite got there. But get this cast: Matthew McConaughey, Marissa Tomei, Ryan Felipe, William H. Macy, Josh Lucas, John Leguizamo, Michael Pena, Bryan Cranston, on and on and on. This is a top-notch movie. It's not The Godfather. It's nothing like that. But this was a very enjoyable little film that, to me, was the beginning, like I said, of the McConaughey's. Because let's go over to Matthew McConaughey's IMDb here for a second. If we go down to 2011 and we see Lincoln Lawyer here, right? Look what was before that. Ghosts of Girlfriends Past. Surfer Dude. Of course, he had his great role in Tropic Thunder. I mean, that role was great, right? Fool's Gold. Failure to Launch. Two for the Money. But look what happened. He did Lincoln Lawyer, and look what happened after that. He was in Bernie. He was in Killer Joe, which I thought was really good.
Unbelievable.
He was in The Paperboy, which I thought was really good. He was in Mud, which was really good. Then he did that appearance in Magic Mike, in which he was really good. All then ultimately led up to him doing the Dallas Buyers Club and winning his Academy Award. And so, honestly, it's just a really good, solid movie that understandably on its surface did not look like it would be any of those things. And my only one regret is that it didn't actually get a sequel. They are making a television series out of it that's on the way, but I wanted that one. Rob, did you have a chance to watch Lincoln Lawyer?
Okay, dude. First of all, what a great choice. I love this movie. Now, I have to tell you, The Lincoln Lawyer is based on the book by Michael Connelly. And I love Michael Connelly's books. And what's really cool is you ask about a sequel. Mickey Haller, the character that Matthew McConaughey is playing, is actually the half brother of Harry Bosch from Michael Connelly's other series, and that's who,
right. Somebody told me that.
Yeah, that's who Titus Welliver, of course, has been playing in Bosch. So in the books, Michael Connelly wrote books where they team up. And I think I was asking somebody that we might both know about this show, and I'm like, oh, they're going to do if they're going to do a Lincoln Lawyer series, are they going to have Harry Bosch guest star on it? But it's like different networks or whatever. But it would be really cool if Harry Bosch, if the Bosch series goes off the air and they bring Titus Welliver on to play Bosch on the Lincoln Lawyer TV series. I mean, that would be dope. I don't know if they would do that, but maybe a guest star or something. But I love this book. I thought the movie is a terrific adaptation of the book, and I think you're bang on the money when you say that it was the beginning of the reconnaissance, because I definitely think it was. And I think this is a great pick, John. Not enough people talk about this movie. Lawyer movies are one of my favorite subgenres of films. I mean, give me a movie about a lawyer, I will watch it. And this is I was so excited to see this movie. It's really good.
Well, guys, there you have it. Those are our recommendations for today. All About Eve, 1950 classic, and the beginning of the reconnaissance, The Lincoln Lawyer. What do you guys think about those films? And what other recommendations do you have that might be little hidden gems or things that weren't appreciated as much as they should have been, or maybe ones that are a little bit older and people might have forgotten about? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down and out of the way, we're now going to move into our live questions. But before we do, we're going to do as we do every day. Rob and I are going to take a quick 4-minute break here. Just give ourselves a chance to rest the vocal cords, stretch our legs, refill our drinks, give you a chance to run and use the bathroom quickly. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back with your live questions. See you in just a couple minutes. right, guys, and we are back. Yeah, a little bit early. We just realized, hey, we're both done. We're both ready to go. Okay, let's just start early. So let's not waste any time and jump in and start taking your live questions. Now, we're going to get things started off here with Star Wars Rocks, who writes, here I was looking forward to today for Disney Plus coming out in the UK, and it turns out they don't like VPNs, so I have no idea when it's coming out in Gibraltar. Now, F you Disney, as we're a British overseas territory. Okay, it's something you got to keep in mind here, Star Wars Rocks. Number one, no service likes VPNs because that means you're circumventing their rights managements, right? So that's never a good thing. And if any service that you start using a VPN to violate territorial rights, you're going to get shut down. So you never know what's going on. Remember, different things have different territories have different sets of rights. And sometimes Disney, there's some territories that they just weren't ready to roll out in, some territories they had to wait for certain rights to elapse. But whatever it is, no service allows VPNs. Some services have just figured out a way to stop you from using them. Others will cut you off if they find out you're using a VPN. Some are just easier to use than others. But yeah, just to be clear, no service that has or that has territorial limitations allows you to use VPNs. Some you can get away with it, but none of them allow it. Just so we're clear on that. All right. Next up, Jonah writes, I didn't like the Amazing Spider-Man films. The second one is a mess. First one I didn't find engaging and boring. These films took away everything that was great about the Raimi films. Oh, I completely disagree. The score was also inferior to Elfman's work. I'm not alone here. No, you're definitely not alone there, Jonah. But the first Amazing Spider-Man, I think, is fantastic, and I'm not alone in that opinion either. The second one was a significant step down. There's no debating that. And there are definitely great things in the original Spider-Man, and especially Spider-Man 2, which I still contend it might still be in my top 10 greatest comic book movies ever made. But I completely disagree with that. It took everything away that was great about the Raimi. I disagree with that completely. I thought Mark Webb did a great job on the first one. Was it as good as Spider-Man 2? No. Did it take a big dive with The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Yeah, but I think it was really, really great. And there's a lot of people who agree with me too. But there's also many people who agree with you on that, Jonah. There absolutely are. All right, next up, Jonah also writes, I honestly was not surprised when we found out Justice League was underperforming. The trailers just didn't look good. In fact, I would even say they were bad. Do you think marketing was a major problem? You know what? Here's the thing, Rob, I don't think marketing was a problem with Justice League, but I will say one of the things Warner Brothers did pretty consistently great was their trailers. Like the Batman versus Superman trailers, other than the fact that they were giving away Doomsday too early. But that first Batman versus Superman trailer was so good. That first Wonder Woman trailer was so good. I don't think the Justice League trailer was as good, but I didn't think they were bad. How did you feel about them?
Dude, those trailers, I mean, I practically went into some kind of heart palpitations when those trailers came on. I was so excited. I didn't think they were bad. I mean, I've wanted to see a Justice League movie, a great Justice League movie, since I was a little kid. So, I was really, 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 really excited. It's unfortunate what happened to that film, and I wish things were different. But I don't think it was really the marketing. I think they did a pretty good job marketing the movie. I think they just, as we all know, it was not a good situation all the way around.
It was not. It was a lot of different problems there.
And the movie suffered.
Yeah. Jonah also writes, in 2018, my brother, who has seen every major comic book movie in the last 20 years, even asked me, there's a Justice League movie? which is funny. But honestly, quality of the trailers aside, I also don't remember there being any lack of quantity of marketing. I remember seeing marketing all over. As a matter of fact, Rob, I remember at the time, one of the big issues was, why are you not putting Superman in the marketing? They had tons of marketing, but remember, why are you not putting Superman in the marketing? Everybody knows Henry Cavill's in the movie. He's listed on the IMDb page. It's not a secret. Like, everybody knows. You're missing out on something here by not putting Superman in the marketing. So did you notice a lack of quantity in the marketing for it? I personally didn't, but maybe in different territories, like where Jonah lives, it did. But you didn't notice any lacking?
No, I felt it was saturated. I certainly knew the movie was coming, and I was certainly excited. But
maybe it's a territory issue. Like maybe we're Yeah, maybe where we are, they marketed it more, and other places they didn't. Yeah. All right, next up, Jonah also writes, with regards to Batman versus Superman, tone is not the problem. I agree. I think the problem with the film, beyond a messy script, is style. Snyder had a directorial and visual style to the DC movies that's honestly off-putting and boring for mainstream audiences. I don't know about that. Look, I think personally, because I like Batman versus Superman. I actually like it quite a bit. Again, I agree. Tone was not the issue. I think if anything more of because there are problems with the film. Messy script is probably it. I don't know if style, I certainly have never heard anybody complain that the style was boring. If anything, there was a lot of complaints that maybe there was too heavy-handed in the action and blah, blah, blah. I've never heard anybody describe it as being boring, but I would go more with a bit of a messy script, and it was a little convoluted, and it kind of jumped all over the place. It didn't feel like a well-put-together film, and so I found it very enjoyable. I love the Batman versus Superman motif ever since, The Dark Knight Returns. I thought the Batman versus Superman fight was awesome. I loved it in this movie. But yeah, they definitely had a problem. Rob, if you had to peg it down to one thing, and I'm sure it's multiple things, but if you had to peg it down to one thing, what do you think the problem with Batman versus Superman was that made it not work for a lot of people?
Well, I just think it was overstuffed, and honestly, I would really have liked to have seen, if this makes any sense, as much as I like Wonder Woman and I liked her introduction in the movie, I would like to have seen just more of Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
And the story focusing on the two of them. We didn't need Doomsday. We didn't need Wonder Woman. I think Batman v Superman, that's what they should have concentrated on. And that was enough. You had Ben Affleck playing Batman and everyone loved him. Henry Cavill coming off Man of Steel. And there should have been, comparing and contrasting, going between the two of them is all you really needed. And I just think I get why they did it. And I did like the introduction of Wonder Woman, but I would like to have seen, I hate to say it, but more of a character study of both Superman and Batman, what drives them, and seeing them both maybe working on the same case, not knowing that they were working on the same case. I just a different story. But I have to say, John, I like Batman v Superman, especially the Ultimate Edition. There's something about it. Whenever I put it on, it casts a spell. Now, is it problematic? Yes. Is it overstuffed? Yes. But there's a feel to it. There's a vision to it that, while it is certainly imperfect, there is something that I really find epic and enjoyable about it, and it's different than any other superhero film. It almost achieves greatness, but it doesn't. But sometimes it feels mythic, and it has imagery in it that I just love. It just doesn't hold together. I think it's a deeply flawed film, but it's a movie that I actually like.
Yeah, if anything, I agree. I liked Wonder Woman's introduction in it, but the movie would have been better served without her in it, even though it's a good part. But the one thing I'm really glad why she was there, it gave us the introduction to that killer Wonder Woman theme.
Oh my God.
I love that music.
Tina
I love
Guo,
that music.
The Chinese electric cellist, man, who's easily one of the coolest women on planet Earth. Wailing that piece out. I love it.
I got to see her perform at the Hollywood Bowl. She came out as a special guest. It was great. Anyway, let's keep moving on. We spent a little bit too much time on that. Let's keep going here. Jonah also writes, I'll admit, after Batman vs. Superman, I didn't bother going to see Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, and Justice League in theaters. The trailers did not interest me, and honestly, they made the films look boring. I can't help but feel audiences felt the same way. Well, Wonder Woman made a lot of money, and Suicide Squad made a lot of money. I mean, Suicide Squad overperformed. Justice League obviously underperformed greatly. Wonder Woman was a ridiculous box office smash hit. So was Suicide Squad, and that was a pretty messy movie. But listen, that's the power of trailers, Jonah, right? you can get something like me where it's like I have no interest in Westworld season 3. I'm not a big fan of the first 2 seasons, but then the trailer for Westworld season 3 drops. I'm like, wow, now I got to watch it. Or like I'm into comic book movies, but you see the trailer and it doesn't do it for you. Suddenly a movie maybe you would have been interested in, you get turned off on, and that's the power of trailers, man. It's a good example of that. All right. Carl R. Martin writes, "Hi, John and gang. Most people don't know, but the 1994 classic The Shadow knows, to me, was the best, or at least my favorite superhero movie. The first time you see the Shadow standing on the bridge in the opening act is beautiful. What do you think about the movie?" We've talked about the Shadow a couple of times. Also, don't forget Magneto is in that movie. Why am I freezing on Magneto's name?
Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen was in the film as well. I mean, the Shadow. And remember, there was a scene in that movie that is ridiculous when you look at it now, but at the time was revolutionary. Remember the dagger, that animated dagger. Today, by today's standards, looks completely ridiculous. But at the time, it was pretty. I really liked The Shadow. I liked it. Did you ever get around to watching that Alec Baldwin classic?
Dude, I actually like that movie a lot as well. I mean, it's not perfect, but I really like The Shadow. Lamont Cranston. I've always loved that character, and I enjoyed that film quite a bit.
But yeah, I'll always watch that one. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being, if we keep going for a few more weeks with our recommendations at home, The Shadow may end up being one of my recommendations to watch at home, because I really do dig that film. All right. An anonymous viewer writes in and writes, 2 years ago, I went to this camp called Boys State, and a documentary crew was there filming it the entire time. We didn't know when it was going to come out, but apparently it premiered at Sundance and has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes now. I have never heard of the film. I've never heard of it, but Sundance is a good place for films like that to premiere. Rob, are you familiar with Boys State? We don't even know if that was the name of the documentary or not. We just know.
No, I do. I have to say, unfortunately, I don't know it.
Do me a favor, whoever you anonymous viewer are, email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com and send me a link to the IMDb page of whatever the title of the documentary is, because I'd be curious just to know what it is. All right, next up, Initial D's writes, one of two. Hey, JC and Rob. With production stopped and everything getting pushed, do you think that studios and film/TV makers will rush to get back on some kind of schedule once productions start back up? Or will everyone work together and let actors break contracts to do what they missed? Will they be rushing to start making money ASAP? I'm worried this will hurt the quality of projects for a while. Thanks for answering and for all you do every day. I think the answer is both and. I don't think it's either or. I think the studios are all going to know that they're all in this mess. They're all in this mess where they're all going to have projects that are pushed and bumped, and now they're going to have overlapping contractual and schedule commitments, and it's going to create a mess for everybody. When you're in a scenario where you realize all of us are screwed, you got to formulate at least some sort of understanding amongst yourselves that, okay, we can either completely fuck each other over and we'll all be in this mess for the next 6 months, or we can develop some understandings that, hey, if my project was supposed to happen already, you will let my actor out of their obligation right now so they can do mine. And if I've got a project that I'm supposed to be using your actor for that was already supposed to be making, I'll do the same. Like, it's not exactly like that, but I think they are definitely going to be rushing to get things back in order. And that should be okay, because they should have all their pre-production mint tight at this point. But I think it's going to be both. They're going to rush and they're going to work together to get it done, because it's just the kind of situation, Rob, you have to work together for anything to get done, or else it's all going to be gridlock. How do you see it?
Look, I think you're absolutely right about that. It's going to take a lot of coordination. But I think they're going to be able to work it out. All of these streaming services, I mean, I think despite the fact that our entire world financial markets are in flux and everything is crazy, it's very unique. The reason is very strange and odd, and it hasn't happened before. And it's not like it was post 2008 with the subprime mortgage crisis crashing. So I think everybody's going to be eager to go to work. There's going to be more. These streaming services, John, they're voracious. They're like Bruce the Shark and Jaws. Gotta eat, make some more stuff. We got to have more programs to put on the air. So I think that, or on the internet, I think it's going to be good. I think people are going to figure out how to make these schedules work. I think everybody's going to be a lot more accommodating. I think agents and managers are going to have to be a lot more accommodating. And it's going to last for a while. It's probably going to take, I don't know, a year or two before things actually get back to normal, before they've caught up with everything that was curtailed. And I think you're going to see a lot of all hands on deck. You know, I saw a doctor today talking about how he had never seen such coordination. And health organizations like the CDC have been talking about everybody has really all hands on deck, and everyone's helping everybody else out in this crisis. I think the entertainment business, we're not dealing with the direct results of what's going on now, but we're also going to have to be all hands on deck, and that's going to come after the crisis has been slowed and stopped. But it's gonna be, we're all gonna have to be accommodating. We're all gonna have to help each other out and get back to business as usual. But I think it's going to happen. People are gonna want it to happen. Everybody wants it to happen, and I'm actually optimistic. You know, I think it's gonna be pretty good. And what's great is both you and we're creating content. I mean, I'm doing DVD special features and helping you, but you're producing a full-on documentary right now. You're not resting on your laurels. You know, we continue to produce.
Yeah, fortunately, you and I don't have to be in large groups of people in order to do it, so we're kind of lucky on that level. All right, next up, Willow writes, if the theaters here are offering home concession delivery, how do you plan on getting all the butter on your popcorn? Will you be instructing the people over the phone on your straw technique? Somebody brought up yesterday about the idea of home delivery for movie snacks. Like a movie theater saying, we're going to deliver popcorn. And then some people emailed me yesterday, and thank you to everybody who did. Some, like in their area, I think one was Wisconsin. There's a movie theater, little movie theater chain doing that. Will they deliver it? And listen, if I can find out in LA, Willow, that there's actually a movie theater that is going to do some Uber Eats home delivery of some movie popcorn, oh, damn right, I'm telling them to layer that popcorn. I'm not going to tell them to do my technique because they may get it wrong. I'll just tell them to layer it, and then I'll be totally happy, Willow. By the way, if any of you guys know of LA movie theaters that are doing home delivery of some movie popcorn, John, you can just make popcorn at home. I know, it's different. John, the hot popcorn at home is better. Oh, I agree it is, but that's movie popcorn, and I want my movie popcorn. Anyway, an anonymous viewer writes, hey, John, why do you think we haven't received any official statement/imagery regarding the upcoming Venom sequel? The first teaser for Venom 1 was released in mid-February, and it's almost April. Do you think we should be expecting something soon? I think it's still way too early. Let me just pull this up here. When was the release date? I don't think it's release date. I don't think it was supposed to be till like October, wasn't it? Yeah, October 2nd. So we're still in March, April, May, June, July, August. It's still 7 months away. It's way too early.
Not only that, John, remember a lot of the studios would drop their upcoming trailers with big summer movies. And with the summer movie season now traditionally beginning in April, you know, we're not going to see, I think, much marketing for these movies now because the movie theaters are shut. And while everybody's home, you might think it's a good idea. Release dates are getting pushed. Everything is in flux. So I think that movie promotion is going to be shut down too.
And listen, don't forget, Tom Hardy has been actively putting up stills from the set of the movie and all that kind of stuff himself. And remember, even though the theaters are 99% sure that the theaters will be open again by October, there is still a good chance that Venom 2 will get bumped because we're going to have a little bit of a backlog and a studio may want to adjust things. I'm not saying it's going to get bumped. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm just saying that's still a possibility. But 7 months out, way too early to start ramping up your marketing. I think you'll lose any impact. You want to wait till you get a little bit closer, I think. Now, other movies will do it, and that's fine. But you know me, I think 3 to 4 months is when a movie should start its marketing, or
I
even
agree.
later. I just think any earlier is just wasted money, but that's just me. All right, Colby Harris writes, I recommend Tim Burton's Ed Wood with Johnny Depp. That's a good one.
Good.
I know there are people who have mixed feelings on that one, but I actually like that. Not my favorite Johnny Depp movie, but that one's good, isn't it?
Dude, I love that movie. Well, my next one will be better. I love it.
That's such a great line, and he's so good in that. All right, the nerd Errant writes, "Why did Robert have to bring up Tina Turner in Mad Max? Can't we all just get beyond Thunderdome?"
Oh, come on, man.
It deserves a.
You're just a raggedy man.
You're just a raggedy man. Okay, that was a good play on words, nerd Aaron. I'll give you that one. All right, next one up. Oh my Josh X12 writes, "Forgive me if anyone has brought this up, but John, I'm surprised you didn't recommend Mystery Men." Oh, give me some time, man. I'm planning on getting around to Mystery Men as the first watch at home movie. I used to rent it on VHS almost every week as a kid. It's on Hulu via Stars add-on. If anybody wants to watch it, if anybody watches this show for any period of time, you guys know my love of Mystery Men. You know, like Mr. Furious, the Shoveler, the Blue Raja, the Spleen. I mean, it was a movie so far ahead of its time. It was so far ahead of its time. The Disco Boys, Casanova Frankenstein. I mean, Captain Amazing. Oh, Captain Amazing. It is a movie that, again, is so far ahead of its time. And believe me, that one's going to be coming up. Oh, my Josh 12. It is definitely going to be coming up. All right, Alex Pitt writes, "Hey, John, Disney Plus finally launched in the UK yesterday, and I am very happy about that. But slightly disappointed that we still have to wait weekly for episodes of The Mandalorian. We have waited long enough, and I was hoping to binge the show." I have Rob, I have an unpopular opinion about this.
No.
Week-to-week releases is absolutely the right way to do it. I have just come to realize week-to-week releases is absolutely the right way to do it. It has been proven because, listen, Stranger Things, Rob, you and I were talking about this. Stranger Things Season 3 dropped. Everybody loved it. 10 days later, nobody was talking about it anymore. And it was great, but nobody was talking about it anymore. 10 days later. Mandalorian comes out, and for 2 months we're all talking about it, and it builds and gets everybody talking, and it gave me as a film fan, I know that I as a film fan got to look forward every week to seeing a new episode and then talking with everybody about it, and then I get to do it again the next week. And it's just been proven that you build up momentum with that. And then by the time you get to week 3, now some people who maybe didn't check it out, they keep hearing you talk about it for 3 or 4 weeks in a row. It's like, okay, maybe I check it out. And then they go back from the beginning and start following it. Listen, I am definitely somebody who loves binging. I love binging. But I have zero doubt the absolute right way to do it is week to week. Despite the fact that I really love binging my stuff. I really do. But anyway, Rob, what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I'm with you, and we've talked about this. I really do like the week-to-week model, and I have to say that right now in my own life, let me share some of my personal life with you, John. I am really enjoying Devs, Alex Garland's new series.
Everybody's talking about that. I got to check this out.
I'm really enjoying it. I don't quite know where it's going, but it's got some really interesting. I'm hoping that it's going to stick the landing. Its 5th episode airs Thursday. And I have to say, I really look forward to having this weekly thing to look forward to. And let me talk about the great, gloriously awful, my favorite show on network television, Manifest. And Manifest is also week to week. And I always forget it's on Monday night. But when I realize, oh my God, it's on Hulu, I mean, it's like every week Santa comes and drops me a new episode of Manifest, and I get to unwrap it with a big, glorious smile on my face and dance around the room in my skivvies, talking and thinking and just wondering what could they do next week to top this week. And it's just like getting a gift, John. And I am all about the weekly watch rather than a binge. Now,
and
that's
the Dev...
No,
I was going to say, Dev, your example of Dev is a perfect example of this because it's been weekly. I heard nobody talk about it after week 1, but then I heard some people talking about it after week 2, and then I heard more people talking about it, and then I heard more people talking about it. If this thing had all dropped at once, nobody would have been talking about it 1 week later. Take Punisher Season 2, for example. Punisher Season 2 dropped on Netflix, and it was really good. And then nobody was talking about it a week later.
Nope.
If that had happened with Devs, I wouldn't even be thinking about watching it now. But because everybody week after week is talking about it, I'm now like, oh, I got to get on this. And Ron Swanson's in it. So, I mean, there's that too. That's a bonus.
And he's great.
I've heard he's good. I've heard he's really good.
I want to work for him. I want to go work at Devs.
All right, we keep moving on here. Next one up is Black Nerd Movies writes, are you familiar with Ashgar Farhadi? I'm not familiar with, although the name does sound a bit familiar. Anyway, he's my favorite director. I highly recommend About Ellie, A Separation, The Past, The Salesman, and Everybody Knows. All superb films. Nobody crafts a more incisive, compelling, and complex interpersonal drama than Farhadi. I gotta admit, off the top of my head, one does sound familiar, but off the top of my head, I don't know that I'm familiar with any of these films. Rob, are you familiar at all with Farhadi?
Oh yeah, I mean he's won. I own A Separation, and he's an Iranian director. He's an Iranian director. He's won two Oscars for best foreign film. I want to say A Separation won, and he's a terrific director, and I'm just happy he's still making movies, in his home country, and he's an amazing director. A Separation is great.
All right, next up. Comes to us from James LH, who writes, hi, John. Regarding Battle Beyond the Stars comment with James Cameron, another bit of trivia is this was the film he met Gail Ann Hurd, really, who was assistant production manager to Roger Corman, which, as you know, led to films like Terminator, Aliens, and The Abyss. And Gail Ann Hurd has just gone on to, with her own career, period, to be a producer on some of the biggest pop culture stuff out there. I was not familiar. Rob, it seems like this Battle Beyond the Stars is a more important film than we realized.
Oh yeah, dude. And back when I was the director of special events for the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films, I was afforded the pleasure of interviewing Gail Ann Hurd on stage at USC. She was, without a doubt, one of the smartest and savviest producers I've ever had the pleasure of speaking to in Hollywood. I was so impressed with her, and then I made the rookie mistake of slipping her my short film. I should never have done that.
Was that innuendo? Was that innuendo? No. Okay.
No, it was true. I shouldn't have done that. When I was there to interview somebody, you never, as you know, when you're in a professional capacity, it's never good to sort of overstep by going, "Here, look at my movie."
Yeah, actually, there was a Kevin Smith. It was one of those specials. Kevin Smith has done a bunch of them where it's just him in an auditorium telling stories, and sure enough, it's completely inappropriate. Sure enough, one guy gets up to the microphone and says, do you think I could get you to read my script? And the whole audience booed at that. There's a time and place, and that is neither. All right, James L.H. writes, John, with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, you can talk many scenes. You have mentioned some of the best. Another is Billy Boyd's Pippin and his emotional song as soldiers charging. He has such a good voice. I also love the song he performed at the end of the Hobbit trilogy. Which,
over the end credits.
Yeah, but which song is he talking about in the movies? Because the only one I can remember is I don't think it was Billy Boyd singing that mist and shadow through the endless night, as he's there with the
with Denethor.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, that's him. He's singing that song, and
all shall fade. Oh, okay. For some reason, I didn't think that was. I didn't think that was Billy Boyd, but you know what? You're right. That was Billy Boyd. Okay, so I'm thinking, what other song was there other than that one?
It's that scene again. Just hearing you, because you are the song and dance man. You're singing that song. I was getting chills listening to it because I could see that scene. I mean, one of the Lord of the Rings movies are just so burned into my brain. And a lot of it has to do with those music cues. And man, when you just started singing that, I got involuntary chills.
You know what? Last night, we flopped on the final Hobbit movie. And I've got some issues with the Hobbit films, but I just got the last bit of it. And the last Hobbit movie ends with Bilbo, the younger version of Bilbo, now sitting in Bag End. He's returned from his journey, and he's sitting there. And the camera kind of does this weird pan and it pulls back out. And it's now the older version of Bilbo sitting there from the Lord of the Rings films, and a knock on the door. And you just hear him say, "No, thank you. No well wishes," or whatever today. And then you just hear from the other side of the door, Gandalf going, "And what about very old friends?" Bilbo excitedly gets off his chair, runs to the door. The camera pans away from the door to the table where he's got his map. And you just hear the voice, Gandalf, and that, right, which is a repetition of the scene from the movie, and I just got total chills. It was, with all the problems the Hobbit films had, That was a great way to end that series. It
Oh,
was a great way
so
to end
good.
it. So very good, with all the things that they did wrong with it. Okay, sorry, we're getting behind here. We need to keep moving quicker here. Russell Amador writes, "Hey, John, I'm sitting back reading some articles and stumbled across one that detailed how the box office officially reported zero revenue. I, too, enjoying reading box office reports with the estimates followed by actuals on the weekend that the movies come out." I know, it is a strange time, Russell. Like, we were talking a little bit earlier about how there's no rules right now. There's no guidebook to this, and it's just... You'd think it was a typo, right? Normally, you'd think it was a typo, but these are the days we're living in. All right, James Welsh writes, "When you look at the director's list for Bond films, Sam Mendes is really the only big name on there. Why have most Bond films been directed by little-known directors and rarely attracted big-name directors?" Rob, as the James Bond guy here, I put that one to you.
Well, I mean, they were I think the James Bond movies, they started out with journeyman British directors, people like Lewis Gilbert, and as they moved on, it's a weird thing. I think that the control over the Bond films has remained more with the producers than the directors. I mean, it was interesting. You saw Mark Forrester exercise a bit more auteurist vision with Quantum of Solace, even though that wasn't the most successful of the Bond films for various reasons. But I think basically you really had journeyman directors who they knew would do a good job, because so much of the Bond films were second unit action directors. The second unit teams were making a lot of those movies. So they didn't need... I think there was always been the thought that if they had auteurist directors, like if you got Steven Spielberg or you got Quentin Tarantino, they would become more Spielberg films or more Tarantino films rather than be a part of this ongoing franchise, which I think has been very conservative. I mean, obviously, one family has controlled the Bond franchise since '62, and that family has exerted a lot of control over those films, and I don't think they want to cede control to a powerful auteurist director, although I suspect that might change. I think that after Bond 25, I don't know what Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson are going to do with the franchise. Michael Wilson's getting up there in age, and I think I could see them selling it, and maybe the time has come for the Bond franchise to be turned over. Like, I would love to see a Guy Ritchie Bond movie. I would like to see a Tarantino Bond movie. I would like to see people doing weird things with the franchise. Guy Ritchie could go back and make a Bond movie set in the 60s. I'd love to see that. I think it's time.
All right, let's move on here. Next one comes to us from an anonymous viewer who writes in, "I'm happy Michael Biehn is in The Mandalorian Season 2. He is a great actor who never became the star he deserved to be. I completely agree. How big do you think his role will be?" I honestly, if Season 2 is anything like Season 1, probably not that big. It'll probably be a one episode, maybe two. I don't see him becoming, because, listen, if he was in like 5 or 6 episodes, I think we would have heard of him being on set, right? But if it's like one episode, so I think it'll be an important role in one episode. Maybe a touch more, but honestly, for the season as a whole, probably not all that big. But hey, I'm just happy we're getting him. Jordan Genovesi writes, "Hey, John, very random question, but you've spoken a lot about how you were not a big fan of Crisis. I was not, but have not spoken much about what you thought about how Arrow ended. Did you find it to be a disservice to Oliver dying twice and Diggle becoming Green Lantern?" To be clear, we don't know that Diggle becomes Green Lantern. He picks up a box, it glows green. It's implied, but just to be clear, it doesn't definitively say that. We don't look in and see a green ring, for example, but it is what it is. You know me, my passion for Arrow has really gone up and down. It was very hot on the show for a while. Then I was very cold on it, and then it did some redeeming things, whatever. I thought the series finale was an interesting way to do it. Kind of as a retrospective best of, a little bit, in a way. Ending it with the way it did. It was a little obscure. Like, they didn't really say anything definite about what it is and where where him and Felicity are at the end. It left some doors open, despite the fact that Stephen Amell saying he's never going back, but think that can change in the future. So while I was never, by the time it ended, I wasn't a big Arrow fan anymore, even though I was still very much a big Stephen Amell fan. I thought it wasn't bad. I thought it wasn't bad. It was an interesting choice to end it the way they did. Could it have been better? Sure, but it also could have been a hell of a lot worse. And so I thought it was an interesting choice. Anyway, thanks for asking that, Jordan. All right, Matthew Chandra writes, greetings from Toronto. Gonna do an MCU marathon in no particular order, just random. Started with Black Panther, then Civil War. Nice. Now I'm gonna watch Ragnarok. I guess being in quarantine has some perks. And that's the thing here, guys. I mean, listen, there's no getting around it. We can't pretend like there's anything good about this situation. It sucks. But we are taking these lemons and making some lemonade where we can. And looking on the bright side, hey, at least we're getting the chance to get caught up on Lawrence of Arabia. At least we're getting a chance to get caught up or revisiting some MCU movies. Why not take this opportunity to do that? And I'm glad that you're doing that, Matthew. All right. Anthony Lucalano writes, I'm currently watching Cleopatra. And I'm up to the scene where she arrives in Rome, and I can't stop thinking, like with Lawrence of Arabia, how the hell did they pull this off in the 60s? Rob, there are scenes in some older movies that if they were made today, it was like, oh yeah, just CGI that part, put up a big green wall there, blah, blah, blah. When you look at movies like Cleopatra, like Ben-Hur, when you stop and remember, they didn't have all this technology back then. When they had a scene of 1,000 people, they needed 1,000 people. When they needed a scene with this epic horse racing and chariots flipping, they actually had to do it. I mean, and Cleopatra is definitely one of those movies that stands out. Do you have any other films that are just like, you look back now and think, how on earth did you do that movie back then?
Oh, well, I'll tell you. The Criterion put out a Russian film called War and Peace. That is an adaptation. Yep. I'd never seen it. It is the biggest, like, I've never seen, your jaw, I don't know if it's on the Criterion channel, your jaw will hit the floor in some of these scenes. You're like, how could they have possibly mounted something that is this huge? And it's just it's unbelievable. And there's something to be said for that kind of filmmaking. I just think now, I don't even know if it's possible. I don't even know if you could get the insurance to do the kinds of things that they were doing back in the day, because it was just a different time. And, when you didn't have that technology, I mean, they still did amazing things. There was still special effects. There was miniatures. There was matte paintings. There was all kinds of things. But when you wanted to show battle between a lot of people, and especially like one of the great things about Lawrence of Arabia is it's not like the cameras. There's no shaky cam. These cameras are way back. Sometimes you have the vistas and these giant master shots where you're seeing clashing groups of armies, and it's amazing. And that was just the way they did it. And I think there's something to be said for that. I think that there was a reality, I always like to say, verisimilitude that is really hard to get these days, if you could ever get it. I mean, I think the last time I remember seeing something that I thought, the Battle of Germania at the beginning of Gladiator. I mean, that is an astonishing battle, and that's a bunch of real dudes. Now, admittedly, you see a lot of guys, but there's still a lot of great filmmaking going on there where they use judicious shot choices and editing, but still, it's big. And you're like, I mean, there's other CG in that movie like of Rome, but that Battle of Germania reminded me of stuff like in Lawrence of Arabia. You just don't see that. But man, the Russian War and Peace, woo, was that amazing. And that came out the movie came out in the 60s in Russia, but it was released here recently. And man, dude, I was blown away.
People should know when they're conquered. Would you, Quintus?
That's so
Would
good.
I
love that actor.
He's great in it.
And he's great in it. Shows up in all these random things. He's just one of those guys that I love that guy. I love that guy. I don't even know his name.
Yeah, I don't either. Him. And his little part at the end of the film, too, was just really great. Okay, sorry. We need to keep moving here. James Rell, 22, writes, 2020 goal. Watch 8 shows that have 10-plus seasons. Well, listen, man. Now's a good time to get started. You probably got a little bit extra free time on your hands right now, or at least that you're stuck at home. Now's a good time to get started on that, dude. James Rell also writes, would you consider The Lion King an epic? No, I wouldn't, because here's why. To me, the word epic is not a distinction of quality, right? Epic is really more about the nature of a film. Is it grand in scope? and view. You know, that's why when I say a movie like Ben-Hur and you're looking at the chair, this is an epic film that transcends like borders and everything, and Cleopatra and stuff like that. So it's a very subjective term, but to me, you know, so understanding that Lion King is not an epic. It's not an epic. It's a wonderful, it's my all-time favorite animated film, absolutely. But again, epic to me is not a level of quality. It's something about the nature of the film. Canada Rocks writes, just finished season 2 of The Kingdom, and it's awesome, even better than season 1. It does not forget about the zombies, but it really focuses on the political intrigue. Each season is only 6 episodes, so it's an easy binge. Have you started season 1 yet? I have not, Rob. The Kingdom is a movie that Kaori has been desperately trying to get me and Ann to watch. And like every day she comes over, she goes, have you started watching it yet? It's a series on Netflix. It's an Asian series that's basically set in Middle Kingdom era with but with zombies as a political intrigue thing. And everybody keeps telling me it's really good. Have you had a chance to start watching this yet?
Dude, the second season dropped. I've only seen the first season. It's you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
That's what Corey keeps saying, so I got to get on that really, really soon. All right, next up, Baby Boy 8603 writes, who do you think caused more damage, Superman and Zod in Man of Steel, or the Avengers in The Avengers? Also, I'm pretty sure civilians are dying when those buildings are collapsing. For those of you who think superheroes don't kill, they can't save everyone. Well, I mean, yeah, I think there was more damage and probably more people died in the Battle of New York in Avengers. And all you have to do is watch the opening to Captain America Civil War to see that, yes, superheroes do kill people. Just in the first 20 minutes of Civil War, they kill a lot of people. They kill directly kill a lot of bad guys. So yeah, there's no getting around that. Now, of course, different people will then say and object, but you know, some superheroes, they never say they never kill. There are superheroes that are supposed to never kill. And there's a distinction there. But yes, I do think that more damage was probably done in the Battle of New York. Of course, there was an entire alien army. An anonymous viewer writes, hey, John, I don't know if you watched it before or not, but Succession on HBO is amazing. Season 2 especially is something else. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Very clever writing and unbelievable acting. Well, Brian Cox just won like an Emmy for that. And that, here's the thing, Rob. I saw episode 1 of season 1 of Succession, and I liked it very much. And then I never got around to watching it again, and I'm not really sure why. If Succession is so you've had a chance to watch yet? It's
one
of those HBO ones.
I'm dying to see it because everyone's like, "Do you watch Succession?" And it's right up my alley, and I really can't wait to watch it. I got to sit down and binge that.
And how great is Brian Cox? I mean, you say Brian Cox is in it, I'm instantly interested.
I'll watch anything that he's in.
Yeah, dude is great. By the way, just I don't know why, random off the top of my head, watch Red. Watch Red. He's not one of the big stars in it, but watch Red. Okay, let's see. Sam O'Neill writes, Joe Dirt 1 and 2 are brilliant. Haha. Hey, listen. Believe there are people out there who will feel that Joe Dirt is brilliant. Of course, look, film is subjective. Obviously, I don't think they're brilliant, but somebody else will. So there are people out there who do. All right, Anthony Lucolano writes, just finished watching Cleopatra, and what a movie. It truly was, in every sense of the word, epic. Elizabeth Taylor was amazing, as were Richard Burton, Rex Harrison, and Roddy McDowall. Cleopatra is easily one of the best movies I've ever seen. Now, on to Apocalypse Now. So here's the interesting thing, Ross. So Anthony's one of these guys who's been using this time to get caught up on a lot of the classics. And he just wrote in the other day he had watched Lawrence of Arabia. Obviously just saw Cleopatra. Now on to, which one did he say he's on to now? Now he's going on to Apocalypse Now, which I don't know if you can have a sharper change of gears than going from Cleopatra into Apocalypse Now. But what are your quick thoughts on those two films?
Well, first of all, you know, Cleopatra is one of the great Hollywood movie-making stories. I don't know if the movie is the greatest thing in the world, but there's a great documentary about how the movie got made that is essential viewing. But Apocalypse Now is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know it's a deeply flawed masterpiece, but it is, in fact, a masterpiece. And, of course, you know, there's 3 versions of the movie, and they were released on a gorgeous 4K version on physical media this year, and boy, I cannot get enough, John. Give me some Apocalypse Now. Saigon, I'm still only in Saigon.
There are so many stories about, like, I mean, stories about, and what's the name of the documentary again about
Hearts of Darkness,
Hearts of Darkness.
Filmmaker's Apocalypse.
It's just, I mean, there are more Hollywood stories, I think, about the making of Apocalypse Now than maybe any you can find. Okay, we keep moving here. We only got Rob for a few more minutes. So Buddha 1013 writes, John, have you ever seen the 1913 Robert Townsend superhero movie Meteor Man? I have not. That's the one where he's on the cover, like with the superhero pose, and I know it very well, but I've never actually. I know of it very well, but I've never actually seen it. This and Batman 89 were my two favorite comic book movies growing up. I have not seen it. Rob, there's something telling me that maybe you've got like a steelbook collection of this. Have you seen Meteor Man?
I love Meteor Man. I do not have a steelbook. I don't know if they make a steelbook of Meteor Man. I do not own Meteor Man. I do not
Eddie
own
Griffin,
it, but I liked it.
James Earl Jones as well. Like I always saw the poster, but I gotta admit I never saw it when I was younger. So that's another one that I have put on the old list.
Fun.
Let's see. Anthony Lucolano writes, I like Cleopatra so much, I wrote a review and put it on my Facebook account. That's when you know you really like a movie, when you just got to get on Facebook and write a review for it too, just to share your overwhelming enthusiasm for it. That's when you know you really like it. Star Wars Rocks writes, I really don't know why DC Universe allows the use of VPNs and Disney Plus doesn't. It really makes one wonder if HBO Max will allow people to use VPNs. Remember, again, Star Wars Rocks, they do not allow people to use VPNs. A VPN there's a lot of very good, important uses for VPNs. One of the more shady uses of it is to spoof that your location somewhere different so you can circumvent copyright laws and circumvent territorial rights. None of them allow you to do it. And if they discover you're doing it, they will ban your account. So just keep that in mind. It's like saying, it's an extreme example, but follow me here. It's like saying, you know how to pick a lock on a door. And so you you break into your neighbor's house. But you go into your next neighbor's house and you try to pick the lock on the door, but they also have bars in front of their doors. And then it's like saying, well, my one neighbor lets me break into his house. Why doesn't this neighbor let me break? No. Neither of them let you break into their house. It's just that one has figured out a way to stop you from using your lockpick and one has not. I mean, that really essentially is kind of it. So don't misunderstand Star. And I'm not judging you for doing it. Lots of people do it. I'm not judging you for doing it at all. I'm just saying the terminology of, well, Warner Brothers lets us use VPN. No, they don't. They haven't figured out a way to stop you, but they don't let you do it. It's an important distinction. Initial D's writes, RIP to the Uncharted movie, another cursed one. Well, we'll see. We'll see. This is again one they've been trying to get going for a very, very long time for sure, but I think no more than a lot of other movies. We'll see this one. They seem very committed to this movie. Sony seems very committed to it, so you're going to see it on its feet soon. Krypton Cage writes, please watch Superman Red Son. You'll love it. I just put it on my queue. I'm going to be watching it. I've always wanted to see that movie, or that story turned into a movie. Initial D's writes, I finally watched The Gift with Jason Bateman, Rebecca Hall, and Joel Edgerton. So freaking creepy.
Yeah, it's really good.
I thought it was really good. That's my recommendation, fellow film fans. Rob, I remember to market this film, I was still with AMC, and this big package arrived with no indication of who it was from. And I opened it up, and it had like pictures of me in it, and like a birthday card that said like good times, and it was like creepy as fuck. And I showed it to people.
That's awesome.
Because like one of my staff brought it over to me. I remember because I was on set, and we still had a bunch of us in the studio. One of my staff brought it over to me, and I'm like, what the hell? And I started showing it to some people, and everybody's like, should you call the police or something? Then I found out that a number of other pundits got similar things, but what they literally did to promote this movie, they got social media people to go deep into my social media and pull different images and pictures, and they put specific targets of it, and then put this package together and sent it to me. And I was like, when I realized it, I'm like, okay, I got to see this movie. And I think Joel Edgerton directed it, did he not?
Yes, he did.
Oh, so good. What was your reaction to it when you first saw it?
Dude, I loved it. I mean, it was one of those movies where you shouldn't know anything about it going in. And I kept myself intentionally in the dark, and I'm glad I did. It's one of those movies, like it was the two movies that the gift and the invitation. Karen Kusama's The Invitation.
Yeah.
I kept myself specifically. I heard don't go in cold, and it was like, and I did the same with Infinity War and Endgame, and I kept myself spoiler free, and I'm a better man for it because boy, the gift was certainly a very entertaining watch, not knowing what was going to happen.
All right, Rob, I know you got things you need to get to today, so thanks so much for being here and bestowing your cupcakes of happiness to everybody here. Where in the meantime, but until you return, where in the meantime can people find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Robert Meyer Burnett, find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and my show, Robservations, the show about some.
Always, Rob, it's great having you here, and we will talk to you again next time. Thanks for that, man. Guys, we will keep on going now. We've got about 20 minutes left. Let's see if we can get through all the rest of the questions here. This next one comes to us from Joshua Mickle, who sends in like a $50 tip. Thank you so much for that. And what we do around here is when somebody sends in a support of $50 or more, not only do we answer the question right now, but we'll also give it its own standalone video a little bit later in a week or two. Keep your eyes open for it. You're going to see this pop up in its own if there's a question in here. So Joshua, thank you for supporting the channel on this level. Let's get to your question. When movie theaters open up again, you think that studios and theaters, for at least the rest of the year, drop ticket prices across the board in order to have a resurgence at the box office to get people back into theaters? Example, standard ticket prices $11.50 to $8.50. Oh, I think that is a great idea. And listen, obviously, we as consumers go, give us free stuff. That's your best thing to do. But that's not always practical, and we'll put people out of business. But for something like this, yes. I think it would be smart. I think because, look, when this thing lifts, you're still going to have some people a little bit nervous. And there's going to be a little bit of getting used to getting back into the routine. I think it would behoove both the theaters and the studios together to work on this and come up with something that says, let us entice you even more. For this first week, we're going to give you 2 for 1. 2 for 1 might be too much, but something like you're saying, like, hey, we're reducing our ticket prices by 30% this week. So come on out. Let's all celebrate and get back into the movies again. I think, Joshua, that is a great idea, but not just a good idea. I believe it's a practical idea. I think it's something they can actually do. And I think they will do something like that whenever this thing comes to an end. Like, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know that. I'm just speculating, but it seems like it makes common sense. It makes common sense, so I think they will do that. At least, fingers crossed. They're going to need to do a lot to get people rushing back into the theaters, and that might be a good way to do it. Again, Joshua, keep your eyes open. We're going to answer your question again in its own standalone video on the YouTube channel. Give us a week or two as we're almost all caught up. And again, thank you for supporting the channel on that level, man. We appreciate that. All right. Richard Karate writes, John, watching the next 5 to 10 years, probably meant watching the next 5 to 10 years, what are the chances we could get a live action Incredibles movie? I'd love to see it. Your thoughts? You know what? I always say in this show, 5 years in the movie business is an eternity. It's an eternity. Trends, things change in the movie business so fast. 5 to 10 years is actually an eternity. I don't think we're going to get a live action Incredibles. First of all, we just had another Incredibles movie. Like, we just had one. And it's awesome. The Incredibles is nearly a perfect animated film. Both of them. They're just both so fantastic. And I believe they're only really done. They're made and their stories told in such a way that is meant for animation. You know what I mean? So you could definitely do one, but it'd be a hell of an expensive film to do. And I don't know. I just don't see a lot of upside. Look at what having the headphones on my hair does. Anyway, I just don't see having it live action, there being a lot of upside. I think they would be just as well to produce a third Incredibles movie animated. So normally, whenever you say 5 years or more, I'll go, yeah, probably. But with the Incredibles, I actually don't think so. I don't think they will. But hey, anything can happen in this business, man. Anything can happen in this business. All right, Anthony Lucalano writes, I got a question for Rob, who you just missed. Which decade do you think was the best for science fiction films, the 50s, 60s, or 70s? I believe Rob would tell you the 70s. I hear him talk about a lot about sci-fi in the 70s. He's actually a real appreciator of the sci-fi of the 70s. So I don't know 100% for sure that he would say the 70s, but my guess is he would probably say the 70s. All right. Richard Karate writes, Part 1. John, my favorite Star Trek character is Commander Riker. He's a good character. And I always thought he would have been a better captain than Picard. It's just my opinion, but my friends say I'm crazy. But remember when Picard got assimilated by the Borg? Was ruler. I think you meant it was Riker, probably, that commanded the Enterprise and the fleet at Wharf 359, and it was Riker who defeated the Borg and saved Picard and the universe. Yes, with a little bit of help. Now remember, Picard himself saved the galaxy 8 times over, right? And Riker learned everything about being a captain that he knew he learned from Picard. So I get Riker being your favorite character, for sure. I know a lot of people that Worf was their favorite character, or Data was their favorite character, or, LaForge was their favorite character, whatever, sure. But I don't think that he was a better captain than Picard. So I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on that one, Rich. And I don't think he was anywhere near the captain of Picard. And everything he knew about being a captain, he learned from Picard. But he was a great character. I love the character, especially as you got into the later seasons. They really started to develop him more. I guess they went more into his love of jazz, and they went more into his personality and things like that. They really started to flesh out his character a lot as the season progressed, and he was a great character. And by the way, I loved seeing him in the Picard series. The scenes with him and Picard, that episode with him and Picard was great. Seeing it, and it worked really, really well for me. So good pick, man. Good pick. All right. Richard Karate also writes, you probably mean part 3, but remember when Picard got assimilated by the Borg, it was Riker that commanded the... Oh, you just kind of repeated yourself there. Gotcha. Don't worry. I understood you didn't mean ruler. I understood you meant Riker. No worries, man. But thank you for clarifying just in case I didn't know what you were talking about. All right. Jonathan Joyner writes, 1 of 2. Hey, John, yesterday I had the chance to watch The Platform, which my roommate for the first time saw before me. She watched my reaction. She rewatched my reaction just as I did with her when I played her Jojo Rabbit. I'm not quite sure what The Platform is. Now watch, I pull it up on IMDb and I instantly know what it is, but hold on a second. The Platform. It's a 2019 film that I know what I have not seen this, but I remember seeing a trailer for this. This was a straight to one of the streaming services, was it not? If I'm not mistaken. But I did not see it, so I really don't know anything about it, so I can't comment. But yeah, Jojo Rabbit, watching that with somebody who hasn't seen it yet, just so you can see their reaction to the shoe scene. Prime stuff. All right, Richard Karate writes, part 3. So I view Picard is a great man and a great captain, but Riker never gets the recognition he deserves, in my opinion. I don't agree with that. I think Riker in the series got a lot of recognition, because remember, in the series, I believe there were a number of occasions where he gets offered his own ship. He's like, hey, listen, you tutelaged under Jean-Luc Picard, and they offer him his own command a couple of times, but he's like, nope, I still got more to learn here. My place is here, serving on the Enterprise with Captain Jean-Luc Picard. So I believe he did get a lot of recognition, but I also believe that you might be right in the sense that not enough fans recognize just how good of a character he is. I mean, obviously there's Picard, and then Worf is a big character with a lot of personality, so there's that. But I think you're right that maybe as far as fans go, Riker probably does deserve a little bit more love. All right, Jonathan Joyner writes, this was part 2 of your question. It's amazing how in 2 weeks of quarantine, how my love of movies rubbed off on her, and we both look forward to watching a show or movie together. Oh, that's always great. I mean, one of my favorite things, and not every relationship needs that, not at all. But for me, one of my favorite things about my relationship with Anne is the fact that we just love, we'll go out hiking, we'll go and do this, we'll play poker together, we'll play Dungeons and Dragons together, we love to getting out on the road, sure. But at the end of the day, one of the things Ann and I love most doing is just flopping down on the couch, with a pizza or dinner that we just made or, whatever, and putting on a TV show we love or putting on a good movie. I mean, that's not important to a lot of relationships, but that's obviously because the type of person I am, that's important to me. And that's one of the things Ann and I love doing together. And one of the things that I love about our relationship the most. So I'm glad you get to have a bit of that too. All right. I know what I'm watching, writes. To help stop corona spread, adult site Pornhub are offering, oh yeah, I read about this. Pornhub are offering free premium subscriptions to keep people indoors. Do you think any other streaming services would make offers to entice people to use their service when staying in? Well, we actually just talked about that early in the show. CBS All Access is making their streaming service free to people for the month. I have a feeling you're going to see one or two more follow suit, whether it's a Disney Plus or a Hulu or something along those lines. But yep, even Pornhub is getting into the game and doing that themselves. So not surprising, not surprising. All right. Jin Darin writes, a kiss may not be the truth, but it is what we wish were true. I know it's Steve Martin. I know it's Steve Martin that says that. A kiss may not be the truth, but it is what we wish were true. Steve Martin says it. What movie does he say it in? For some reason, I want to say Shopping Girl, or it's LA Story. Anyway, it's one of, I know it's Steve Martin. I know it's Steve Martin, but I can't remember outside that. All right. Ready Teddy Setti writes, hey, John, thanks for keeping us entertained. Here's my quarantine movie list so far. Terry Gilliam's Brazil, nice. Bullet, nice. The Great Escape, great. The Sting, Rob and I were just talking about The Sting the other day. The original, Gone in 60 Seconds. I'm thinking Death Race 2000 is up next. What do you think? I will admit I'm not the biggest fan in the world of Death Race 2000. I'm not the biggest fan of that movie. There are a lot of people who are, and there are going to be some people screaming at their computer monitors right now because I said that, but I got to admit that. But listen, I really love it when I'm hearing people getting caught up on some of these more classic films, right? And it's great. So I think it's a great list. I would skip Death Race 2000, to be honest with you, but that's just me. That's just me. Anyway, good on you. Ready? Keep enjoying the films, man. Keep enjoying the films. All right. Mr. TJ Lynn writes, I actually prefer Cinderella Man over Gladiator. Hey, Cinderella Man is awesome, man. Another Russell Crowe film I would recommend is a Western directed by Sam Raimi, co-starring Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, and Leonardo DiCaprio. Pale in comparison to Unforgiven, but I thought it was quite good. That's the one where Sharon Stone is the great gunfighter. And I'm forgetting... Why am I forgetting the name of the movie? Hold on a second. I'm forgetting the name of the movie, and it's killing me that I am. Is it The Quick and the Dead? Hold on a second. Gene Hackman. Welcome to the Replacements Under Suspicion. Absolute Power. Get Shorty. Crimson Tide. Quick and the Dead. It is The Quick and the Dead. It is The Quick and the Dead, which, by the way, also had Richard Harris, if I'm not mistaken, who I don't think you mentioned in there. Richard Harris, who went on to play Dumbledore in the Harry Potter movies before he passed away. Oh, Bill, he had such a great voice. Oh, Richard Harris had such a great voice. His son is a hell of an actor, too. Or was I thinking of Unforgiven? I'm probably thinking of it. I thought it was... Wait, so I thought Richard Harris was in Quick and the Dead. No, you know what? I'm thinking of I got to be thinking of Unforgiven. But at any rate, yes, I like Quick and the Dead, and seeing a young Leonardo DiCaprio in there, that's a nice recommendation. All right. Mr. TJ Lynn also writes, thanks, John, for your Shawshank Redemption video. Convince him using your argument. Finally, my friend got to see it, and he loves it, and he thanks me. The lockdown probably helps, too, since he's less busy now. So Mr. TJ Lynn had written in a question about, hey, listen, I got a friend who's says he's not into prison movies, so he won't even try Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest cinematic films in history. And my argument, and so TJ asked me, how would you convince him? And I said this, Shawshank Redemption does happen in a prison, but it is not a prison movie. It's not a movie about prison. It's a movie about hope. And I guess TJ used that argument and he used that logic, and apparently it worked. And now your friend is one of the latest people to appreciate one of the most perfect films ever made in cinematic history, Shawshank Redemption. I'm glad that worked for you, TJ. All right, Robert Perez writes, my movie recommendation is Threat Level Midnight with Michael Scorn. That's, of course, everybody who watches The Office is well aware of threat level midnight. All right, Captain Chicken Pants writes, just have a couple of minutes more left here, guys. John, you'll be pleased to know that the recent God of War was recently outed for a PC release, just a matter of time before Spider-Man 2. I'm very excited because I watched like the 14-hour cutscene movie of God of War. And my buddy Ryan lent me his copy of God of War to put on my PS4, and I never did, actually. But if it's coming to PC, I'm very excited to play that game. I'm very, very excited to play the game. The cutscene movie was awesome. Like, it was just awesome. Thanks for the heads up on that. James Argento writes, over under 30%, Michael B is playing Cad Bane. I will go under 13% on that. I don't think they're going to go in that direction. It's certainly within the realm of possibility. It's certainly possible, but I'll go under 13% on that. Captain Chicken Pants also writes, only one can be made, Man of Steel 2, Nice Guys 2, The Accountant 2, or Paddington 3. I know you love that fuzzy bear. I do. I will take The Accountant 2. Here's why. I got more Henry Cavill as Superman. Nice Guys was awesome, but not really set up as well to be a franchise. I got 2 Paddingtons. The Accountant was great, and it was left open-ended for a sequel, and it's got real franchise potential. So I'm not saying The Accountant is necessarily my favorite film out of that bunch. Not at all. But if I had to pick one to get made, it would be Accountant 2. Just Plain Steve writes, 1 of 2. And this will be our last one here today, guys. Just Plain Steve writes, 1 of 2. Are we setting an unsustainable standard in our responses to the COVID situation? There's always going to be the next big crisis, be it MRSA, SARS, swine flu, bird flu, COVID. It seems every couple of years we have the next big crisis. Next time doing anything less than what we're doing now just won't be acceptable by the world. I realize this question is bigger than just movies and movie theaters, but if the industry makes it through this time, can it do it twice or 5 times? I mean, here's the thing. And again, now we're getting into things that are not clearly Just Plain Steve, my area of expertise, right? So let's just be clear of that. I'm as dumb on this topic as everybody else is. My hope, though, as an average dumb person, is that with every new situation, we learn new lessons. My hope is that next time, and there will be a next time, that next time we see this developing, that maybe globally, our political leaders around the world will listen a little more quickly to the scientific community when they say, this is a problem we need to lock down, and not wait a month or 2 months as many countries have. And hopefully, we've never really been in a situation like this. So we're learning. Everybody's learning. So here's hoping that next time, the one hope I take out of this is that next time, when there is a next time, we recognize it quicker, listen to our scientific minds quicker, and act more decisively quicker. Because if we had this time around, and again, this is a new situation. I'm not piling the blame on anybody. It's a new situation for us. I'm just saying I think if we had locked down quicker and listened to the doctors sooner, and we might be getting through this a hell of a lot faster, but we didn't. And now the problem is the level that it is. So hopefully next time it's something we take away from it. Again, I place no blame on anybody. It is what it is. I don't know anything about this. I'm just, as an average person, saying what I hope happens next time. All right, I said that was the last one, but I'll squeeze in one more here, guys, before the end of the 2 hours. Anthony Lucalano writes, just finished watching Apocalypse Now, and I don't think I've ever seen another movie set in the Vietnam War that captures the insanity and madness of it quite like Apocalypse Now. It is. Madness and insanity are 2 words, Anthony, that definitely describe that movie. And again, go watch that documentary, Heart of Darkness. That's about the making of the film. It'll give you a whole new appreciation for Apocalypse Now. Certainly one of the most important films ever made. All right, guys, for everybody else, from Simon, Anthony, Nick C., Double Crit, Ben Rayner, and on, do not worry, guys. I'm going to do a companion video later today to make sure your questions get answered. You sent in those questions. They're going to get answered today in a video properly. So keep your eyes open for that just a little bit later. But for now, guys, that will do it for this installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. Special thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett. Thank you to all of you guys for making the show a part of your day. And a special thank you to all of you guys who sent in live questions, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, But in doing so, you supported the channel along the way. So I thank you for that. Don't forget, guys, we'll be back again tomorrow with the next episode of the John Campea Show. Guys, thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea. Guys, take care, stay safe, stay home, care for those around you, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.